Our house gets an unbelievably good view of pretty much all the drama that happens in our little neighbourhood of Gracemont House Drive and all the stuff that kicks off between our neighbours. And you will never believe what I got to watch this week. Now, I've got nothing. But it's interesting, isn't it, that when someone starts a sentence like that, we are unbelievably invested, aren't we? Man, we love the gossip. Like, we're jamming along to the jungle drums instantly. Yes, let's go. But what's interesting about Proverbs chapter 7 is you get these wise parents who are trying to grow a wise son, and to do that, they tell him a story about something that they have observed from their window. And so just like you were maybe a little bit edge of your seat waiting for what I had, even though I had nothing, they've got a story to tell. And I'm going to read it to you. If you want to just close your eyes and listen and try and imagine it, that sound. If you want to read along, this is from Proverbs chapter 7, beginning at verse 6. These two parents say to their boy, "At the window of my house, I looked down through the lattice. I saw among the simple, and noticed among the young men a youth who had no sense." Right, stop. And ask the question, how is this young lad described? Senseless, all right? Simple and senseless. So he's not described by what he's got, he's described by what he's not got. He is senseless. So let me ask you to make a prediction right at the beginning of this story. How do you think this story is going to end? Put your hands up if you think it's going to end well. Put your hands up if you think it's going to end badly. Oh, you're so cynical, so Scottish, but you're right. You need to ask the question, why do these wise parents tell their son the story of a senseless fool? It's because when you watch somebody who gets it wrong, it can help you get it right. Have you heard of black box thinking? When a plane crashes, do you know what they try and find? They find the black box, because the black box will tell you why the plane crashed. And so if you find the black box, you can make sure that planes don't crash in the future. We are about to watch a plane crash. And it's painful, but the purpose is that you wouldn't crash in the same way. So as we keep listening to this story, we're going to spot things where it immediately starts to go wrong. So Proverbs chapter 7, verse 8, the next little bit. He was going down the street near her corner. Now, we don't know who her is yet, but she sounds menacing already, doesn't she? It's like watching a David Attenborough documentary, and you see a beautiful shot of a lovely savanna and a gorgeous little antelope just grazing and getting ever closer to some higher grass. And what can you see in the grass? You can see the lioness. The lion's miles away scratching its nuts, and the woman's doing all the hard work, but she's there, and the antelope is blissfully naive. And what are you doing? You're screaming at the telly. Move, you wally! Aren't you? Because to be near to the predator is fatal. Here's a boy, halfway through verse 8, walking along in the direction of her house at twilight, as the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. So he's not only walking in a dangerous place, he's walking in a dangerous direction, and he's walking at a dangerous time. He is senseless. But before we start judging him, we can probably all add in our similar stories of senseless stupidity, can't we? It's the gambling addict who's scrolling very near the gambling apps. It's the alcoholic wandering near the alcohol aisle in Asda. It's the dissatisfied husband getting nearer to a colleague at work through little flirtatious moments in WhatsApps. It's the recovering addict walking through the scheme close to where they used to score. It's the isolated new Christian getting nearer to the work night out. It's the lad struggling with pornography, allowing the algorithm to take him ever nearer through his reels to some seductive content. It's the Christian girl getting nearer to dating a non-Christian guy. It's the young guy who's really struggling with laziness and anger, getting ever nearer to renewing his online gaming subscription. Man, you are lingering where a lioness is lurking. Run, you Wally! Isn't it? That's what you're screaming. Senseless. And in the story, as you've already guessed, the inevitable happens. Look at Proverbs chapter 7, verse 10. We're just going to let the narrative run. Then out came a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute with crafty intent. She's unruly and defiant. Her feet never stay at home. Now in the street, now in the squares, at every corner she lurks. She took hold of him, kissed him, and with a brazen face she said, "Today I fulfilled my vows, and I have food from my fellowship offering at home, so I came to meet you. I looked for you, and I found you. I've covered my bed with colored linens from Egypt. I've perfumed my bed with myrrh and aloes and cinnamon. Come, let's drink deeply of love till morning. Let's enjoy ourselves with love. My husband's not home. He's gone on a long journey. He took his purse filled with money. He won't be home till full moon." With persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. Question, do you think anything she said there is true? I don't know. But we get a little behind the scenes perspective into her craftiness of intent. But think of it from the young lad's perspective. How's he experiencing it all? He's loving life, isn't he? This beautiful woman just slides into his DMs and on their first hookup is groping him and kissing him. Does he care about her crafty intent? Does he balls? He's just enjoying the intimacy. And he's bang up for the promised night of lovemaking in her bed of luxury. That's the prostitute's promise. That's how she says the story is going to end. And this senseless son thinks that his night is just going to be sex full. But watch what happens next. Verse 22. All at once he followed her. And then listen to how it's described. Like an ox going to the slaughter. Like a deer stepping into a noose. Till an arrow pierces his liver. Like a bird darting into a snare. Little knowing it will cost him his life. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. Many are the victims she's brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. Here's what the parents are saying to this son. From the safety of their house, looking out the window at what's happened to this senseless boy, they say, do you see the headline? Senseless and slaughtered. That's the headline, isn't it? The lesson for the son, the lesson for you and me is, there are loads of things that present like a prostitute, promising satisfaction, that are actually predators planning your slaughter. Sin depends on you being senseless. Temptation thrives on you not knowing the truth. Addiction begins by making sure you are naive as to where it ends. Relapses happen because we only see the bait and we forget that there is a hook. The prostitute is a predator. It looks like seduction to satisfaction. It is actually seduction to slaughter. Some of the details are fascinating. You know, she's lined her bed with Egyptian cotton sheets. They smell of cinnamon. And the scene is set for lovemaking. My guess is from the end of the story, the reality is that her cotton is lining your coffin. The cinnamon is masking the smell of death. And this is the scene of your slaughter. She promises much, but she'll kill you. She appeals to your senses, but she needs you senseless. Now, I do think this is in some ways a picture of like sexual sin, but I also think it's just a spiritual picture of all sin. If you're senseless about sin, going against God, it will seduce you to a slaughter. And you need to see why the parents are telling the son this story. They're saying to him, before you go out into the big bad world, if you go out there thinking it's neutral, you'll very soon find it's not. There's lots of people who will present as your pals, who are actually your predators. And there are loads of stuff that promise to make life high, that are actually a highway to the grave. And for some of us in the room, we know this very personally to be our story. We're not like watching from the safety of a window this happening to other people, when the reality is our friends and our families have watched this happen to us. This kind of episode echoes on repeat in lots of our experience, doesn't it? And so if we are senseless, we need someone to make us sensible, don't we? If we've been on this highway of slaughter, we need someone who will bring us into the highway of safety. And beautifully, that's what this book of Proverbs is doing for you. Some of us have never had a parent who would sit us down, get this stuff into us, and give us sense. But these protective parents in Proverbs, and what they do for their son, is inviting you into a relationship with the loving Lord and what he does for his children. And today in Jesus, you need to know that there is a way through him from the slaughterhouse into the safety of his house. You need to know that in his cross, Jesus endures the bad ending of your story so that his resurrection can create a new beginning in your story. He rescues us from our senselessness and he fills us with his sensibleness. That's what he does. And if you listen to him and you learn from him and you love him and you fear him, there can be a different ending to your story. I want to show you this, right? Headline for the first bit we looked at: senseless and slaughtered. But here's what I want to show you next. These two words: senseless and slaughtered, but now keep and be kept. All right, these two wise parents say these two words to their son 2 times: keep and be kept. Listen to the first time from chapter 6. We're going backwards. Chapter 6, verse 20. Let's read from verse 20 to 24. My son, keep your father's command. Don't forsake your mother's teaching. Bind them always on your heart. Fasten them around your neck. When you walk, they'll guide you. When you sleep, they'll watch over you. When you awake, they'll speak to you. For this command is a lamp. This teaching's a light, and correction and instruction are the way to life. Spot the other word. Keeping you from your neighbor's wife, from the smooth talk of the wayward women. Do you see the two words? Keep and be kept. The logic is this: keep your parents' teaching, and they'll keep you from this woman's tempting. Or to say, keep God the Father's teaching, and they will keep you from the evil one's tempting. Keep and be kept. I don't know if you noticed when we read that story, right? Looking out the window, the senseless boy. 2 interesting things about him. Number 1, he was completely silent. The only voice you heard was of the prostitute. Number two, he was on his own. The only company he had was himself. But this son, from the safety of his house with his mum and his dad, is in a very different position, isn't he? He's got the commands of his father and he's got the teaching of his mum. And look at what those commands, look at verse 22. What do those commands become? The father's commands become company that guide him. Their words become a kind of warrior that watch over him. Their teaching almost becomes like an actual teacher that goes with him to speak with him. I think that's what we're being told, right? In Jesus, God gives you a different ending to the story by giving his word to you. When you become a Christian, the Bible comes alive in you in a way that it keeps you from the dangers that are outside of you. And he does it through the promise that he will be with you and he will speak to you. The promise is, in the dangers, you have God the Father with you and speaking to you, saying, I promise, I will never lead you into temptation, but I will deliver you from evil. In the darkness, you have the promise of God the Son that he will be with you and he will speak to you, saying, I will lead you through the valley of the shadow of death onto the narrow way that leads to life. And even when you're walking in the wrong direction, you'll have the presence of God the Spirit with you, speaking to you, saying, turn the other way and let me lead you into the freedom of my fruitfulness. It's very different from being alone and silent. You are together and spoken to. That's how you live the Christian life. Actually, the good picture of it is look at chapter 6, verse 23. For this command is a lamp, this teaching is a light, and correction and instruction are the way to life. So that when you are walking in a dark place, in a dangerous direction, what do God's words do? They turn the light on to keep you. When you're walking in the wrong direction to a dangerous end, what do his corrections do? They lead you in the other way on the path to life. They'll keep you. And we need this, don't we? In the day-to-day, to keep our stories from ending in slaughter. But you've got to remember, although his words in you promise to keep you, the logic is keep and be kept. We can't expect for us to forsake God and still be kept by God. We can't expect for us to just bind God's commands on our hearts sometimes and for us to be kept by God always. We can't expect to fasten God's word onto our hearts, maybe every second Sunday, and expect God to keep us every day. Listen, there's danger every single day. There's predators every single day. There's darkness every single day. And so if you need kept by God in the darkness and the danger every day, you need to keep yourself close to God every single day. If you're keeping your daily fitness regime more than you're keeping up with daily worship, you might be in danger. If you're prioritizing keeping up with football matches more than you're keeping your family attending prayer meetings, you might be in danger. If your job is keeping you from regularly meeting with God's people, you might be in danger. If keeping up a mask that everything's fine is keeping you from getting the help you need, you might be in danger. It's keep and be kept. Not to keep is senseless. Not to keep is not to be kept. Proverbs is full of good images, but look at chapter 6, verse 27. The image here is so vivid. Answer these questions, right? Can a man scoop fire into his lap without his clothes getting burned? Answer, no. Question number 2, verse 28. Can a man walk on hot coals without his feet being scorched? No. What does the saying go? Play with fire, get burnt. I want to give you something to write in the front of your Bible. Apparently it's what a guy called John Bunyan wrote in the start of his Bible, so I've written it in mine. He had in his Bible, the Bible will keep you from sin, or sin will keep you from the Bible. That's Proverbs 6 and 7, isn't it? Keep and be kept. I think this stuff gets clearer the second time that the mum and dad say this. So come to the start of chapter 7, chapter 7 verse 1, and look out for those 2 words spoken again by the mum and dad. Keep and be kept. Chapter 7 verse 1, my son, keep my words. Store up my commands within you. Keep my commands and you live. Guard my teachings as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you're my sister. And to insight, you're my relative. They will keep you from the adulterous woman, from the wayward woman and her seductive words. Do you see the same things again? Keep, and be kept. But there's a new image that I think helps us understand what it means to keep God's commands. Look at verse 4. Say to wisdom, you're my sister. And to insight, you're my relative. So God's wisdom, God's insights are pictured as people that you are to relate to. And so the way to keep God's commands is to relate to God like a close relative. The way to stay safe from the seductress is to stay sticking with God's word like a sister. Or put it in the other way, it's when we're far from the God who would keep us from falling that we fall. There's a proverb that comes later on in Proverbs chapter 18, that Reuben's actually got a picture of up on his bedroom wall. It says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Jesus is the friend who sticks closer than a brother. And he's close to you to keep you. The tragedy is we are often the unreliable friend who stay far from him to our own ruin. Here's a question that's worth pondering. What kind of relative have you been to God over the last month? If we've been relating to God like a distant cousin, is it any wonder that our relationship with him feels distant and cold? If we've been relating to God like a stranger, is it any wonder that our spiritual life feels more slaughterhouse than satisfying? This is the black box moment, isn't it? If the last month has been a struggle, this is a moment to go, what can I learn? And the lesson, it's relational. Keeping close to God is the key to being kept by God. Keep and be kept. Let me finish like this. Jesus once told a story, and I wonder if he read Proverbs 7 in his quiet time that morning. But he told the story of a senseless young man who demanded a share of his dad's money and took it and ended up walking away from his dad's house. And with that money, he went mad for it. He squandered all of it on wild living and in prostitutes. And the predatory promises of the prostitutes proved true. They spat him out to the point where he was in squalor with pigs. His sorrowful soul in the slaughterhouse. It's very Proverbs 7, isn't it? The turning point in the story is when that senseless young man comes to his senses. That's what we're told. But as he returns to walk back to his father, the only way he can conceive of the relationship continuing is by relating to his dad like a slave relates to a master. Maybe that's where some of us are at, struggling spiritually, and the only way we can think of following Jesus is like slavery. It just feels cold. What you must know is that is in your head, it's not in God's. When the son, having come to his senseless, gets home, his dad runs to him and he celebrates and he throws a party to ensure that the senseless son knows that he is loved like a special son. The point is, the father knows it is keeping close to the father that is the key to being kept. And he celebrates, saying, "This son of mine was lost, but he's now found. He was dead, and he's now alive." All that to say, if you're here this morning and your story has been the senseless son story, there is a way from the slaughterhouse to the Father's house. There is a way from the highway of foolishness to the narrow path of wisdom. There is a way from death to life. And he invites you this morning, he says, come. Come home to your Father. Come home and find that he is way more than what you have been neglecting him for. And so, fellow sons and daughters, come, keep close to him, and he will keep you far from danger. Now we're going to take some time to sing, because singing is one of the things that brings us to our senses. We speak truth to one another, and it's the thing that makes us go, I need to come home. I need to see that my Father is better than all the things that sin has promised. So